Zooming recording. So this meeting is being recorded, and Sandra is also here, joining now. And my name is Laura Myers. I am the president of UNNC. Teresa, in our bylaws, it says that the president runs both the main meeting and executive, but our tradition at UNNC, starting I don't know when, 20 years ago, 18 years ago, was that the vice president would chair the executive committee meeting. So Dolores knew that and wanted to do it, but we must start. So what I'm going to do is share the screen and with our agenda. And if you could let me know if you guys can see that. Is it visible yet?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, it's interesting. I'm now getting a pop-up. It says participants can now see it, which is weird. How does it know? Anyway, here is our agenda, and we would need to approve it, although we already had. But what it has on it is public comments, and then the executive committee business, which includes funding requests. Oops, I didn't do that right. Sorry. I have lost the shared file. Can you guys still see it? Because I no longer can.
We see it.
We still see it.
Sorry, so I no longer can see it, so I can't scroll through it. So I'm sorry, I'm going to have to stop the share and start it again. I'm so sorry.
I can read it really quick if you want, Laura.
I'm just going to reshare it. It's
Okay.
just I clicked on something stupid. I don't know what it was, but here we go. So we have a funding request. We have a discussion, not necessarily an action, but a discussion about how we can divvy up, how we want to divvy up our duties and tasks. An item on board member trainings and attendance reviewing. The upcoming governing board meeting agenda items. I can tell you that number E, review UNNC inventory report, once again, Dunn has not gotten back to me about what we are to do with that, so this will take less than 5 minutes. And an update regarding revisions to the board member handbook, if there is enough update to be had. Committee reports, if any. At the moment, we don't have committee members here to do updates, but they might see the time on this and come later. A discussion about how to prepare the prior minutes. And then a treasurer's report, which might have a lot of discussion on it. So technically, we should do a motion to approve this agenda.
I have a concern discussion item. For the treasury report, I submitted a suggestion for a specific item in the treasury report.
Correct, Greg.
Can we please can we make a motion? I know that it may not be what everybody wants, but can we just make a motion to approve the agenda or not approve it? I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
We need to hold the discussion first before we move to making a motion.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Greg. It's just that this is your item. The treasurer's report is very broad. I saw that you had made a suggestion for additions to it, but the agenda had already been posted to the city's ENS. But all the things you would like to discuss are covered in this generic item under the Brown Act. Am I saying that right? I anticipated what you wanted to discuss, but I didn't have the specifics. So I made it broader.
Okay.
If that's okay.
Yeah, as long as it's covered, because in the last meeting, we stated that it wasn't covered. So, all right, discussion of it, no further.
Yeah, because this time we have an action attached to it.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
So I'd like to make the motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
And Greg seconds.
Okay, since we can all see each other, all in favor, if you just want to raise your hand. And there's no opposition. I'm going to stop the share. And Greg, the first item on the agenda is, I'm sorry, not Greg, it's public comment on any item not on this agenda.
I'm sorry, I have a question. Do we need to do the roll call? Or am I just taking it from what I visually see?
No, we don't do don't need a roll call at exec.
Okay.
And here comes Dolores, so I get to turn over the chairing duties.
Paul had his hand up.
Yeah, I was just about to ask about Dolores, so
Yeah.
my
Here she
question's
is.
answered.
She's joining now. She's slowly arriving.
Yeah.
Connecting to audio.
Hello, everyone.
Hi there.
Dolores.
Finally got in.
Welcome
Thank
aboard.
you. So Dolores, we were just about to call for any public comment on any item not on this agenda. And I don't know if you can, I know you're going to be chairing, but I don't know if at the moment you can even see the raised hands. Uh-oh. You know what, Michelle, while Dolores is resolving, do you have a public comment? And sorry about that. You know, welcome to Zoom. We've been using it for 15 months, but we're not perfect.
Yes, I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Michelle Warwick, and I am a part of PICO Neighborhood Council. And periodically, I just want to come on to other neighborhood councils and see what's going on in you guys' area and see, you know, how you guys are running your meetings and various things. So I'm here, but I'm not here.
Oh, no, that's okay. But feel free to participate with us, because one thing is that we actually run a participatory meeting. So
No
if something
problem.
strikes you as something you'd want to comment on, please feel free. Dolores, are you with us yet?
Yeah, I am. I was looking for the funding request from Sandra.
Okay. So, do we have any other public comment? And then I'd like to turn the meeting over to Dolores. I see none. So, Dolores, you're in the chair seat, and Greg, I think you probably have the funding request, right?
I can get it. So hold
Oh,
on.
I have. Okay,
It's
one
in,
of us.
it's in the thing.
Yes, it is.
So let me switch over.
I'm sorry, I'm having these technical difficulties.
Okay. So let me go here, and then let me go to this. Okay. Okay, one funding request. And let me do a share. Get back over to the Zoom. And one funding request on display. Okay, there we go.
Okay. So, Sandra, you have the floor. How are you, by the way?
Hi, Dolores. Good to see you. Congratulations on your coming back and being the VP.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sandra Pruitt, and I'm from Jefferson Park. And this fund request is to support Sons Matter outreach efforts in the community. I'll just read it, as well as its ongoing activities that support neighbors in need through various community activities from now until the end of the year. So activities such as our recent National Night Out, Grab and Go summer meals for families in Leslie Shaw Park, our back to school future activities, as in back to school backpack giveaway and our annual toy drive. The funding request is for $2,500. So.
Are you finished?
Yes.
Greg?
Okay, Sandra, my concern about the request is that when I review a request from the treasurer's standpoint, I look for a few things. One, I look for the specific project that we are supporting. This one has various community activities, and you do list examples of what you have done. And then I also look for the expenses that we are supporting. And then I also look at the funding requests to find out if we're partnering with any other organization. Um, this this request is a general request for funds, and so I would, as a treasurer, I would look for more specific. Like you're asking for us to support a specific event rather than funding. It sounds like you're asking us to fund things throughout the year. So that would be my concern as I review this.
Okay. Do you want to share, Laura?
Well, I do, but I would like Dolores to call on me because she may be wanting to call on someone else first.
Oh, yes, go ahead, Laura. I'm sorry.
No problem.
May I stop sharing? May I stop sharing?
Yes, you can stop sharing. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so Greg, I think what we had told Sandra just a few weeks ago was that we can't fund events and that she needs to give us a more general, as she did, funding request. So we need to kind of help her craft what you may want as treasurer and what the city clerk and Dunn wants, which is not to support a specific event while we're still in COVID. So, it's a little bit of a catch-22. So, is it that would it make it better for you, Greg, if Sandra and her team added some dollars for example this, for example that, but we can't fund a specific event at this point?
My advice, may I respond or should I wait?
Yeah, go ahead and respond. Still I can write it
down.
I'm
asking the vice president if I can respond.
Dolores, can he respond?
Or should I wait?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Well, my question is, can I respond to what Laura said? Okay, yes. So when I say Greg, it's not me personally, it's just right. Okay. So, and I understand the events. However, any requests that we have that we're funding, we need to know specifically what we are supporting.
Right.
And so, yes, we do. And I'll use the word event very loosely, but any project, let me use the word project, any project that we support, we need to know what are we buying, what are we supporting, where would the funds go? And so, yes, an itemized list of the items that will be purchased or the services rendered is essential. And then also any other funding sources that the organization is partnering with. So I do think that rather than, it could stay like for the year long, which that's the way it seems, but yes, it does need to say backpacks, 25 backpacks at $5.57 each. Meals from food bank, so something like that. So yes, what are we, because at the end of the event, then one of the things that we request from the people that we support is a report of how the funds were used. And so we look for them to come in and say, we took the $2 million that you gave us, and we bought a Mercedes-Benz and a Hummer. No, okay, that's not a funny joke. We bought so many backpacks, we bought this many COVID kits so that we can see how the funds were used. And that's the issue that we've had in the past, where I requested, okay, in your report, what did you use the money for? And the person could not provide the information. And I'm like, I was beside myself and saying, how do you not know what you spent the money on? So yes, I hopefully we will be consistent in requesting an itemized list of what will be purchased, what will be provided. Sorry for being
Okay,
so
so we can go to Teresa and then to Paul.
Thank you, Dolores. Ms. Pruitt, I was trying to find some information on your organization. I have two questions. I didn't see a website. Do you have like a Facebook page, or is there some other way we can see some of the work that you've done? And also just to the board in general, have we provided funds to Ms. Pruitt's organization in the past? Can somebody update me on that?
No, we haven't. And no, I don't have a Facebook page. You can always call me Sandra because I'm going to call you Teresa. That's fine. So I don't have a Facebook page. I just started it earlier this year. And I have
but a website? Do you have a website?
Hold on, Teresa, let her finish, please.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, Sandra.
Okay, so no website, no Facebook page. I just started organizing it this year. As you know, Teresa, as being on the board, I have partnered up with the neighbors and the community to do several events. And I just thought that with not being sure if the UNNC was going to be able to have funding, or not being sure if the UNNC was going to be able to come back around after COVID and be prepared to do events this early in the year. I just went ahead, since I had already worked on getting my 501(c) together. I went back to the people who I've been working with for the 7 years I've been on the board and brought us all together for the National Night Out event and moving forward.
Paul?
Yeah, so I guess I'm new to the board, relatively new, and I'm a signatory and I'll be a card holder. And today I had training related to how the neighborhood councils are supposed to, what the process is for funding.
Yes.
And, maybe just, I don't know who all is new or who is not new, but I don't know if we can have just a couple minutes of someone explaining the process, because it sounded to me after the training that whenever someone like Sandra from the community is requesting funding for specific, well, they should be for specific projects and events, that there's sort of a two-step process. There's the initial request for the board to approve, and then there's a subsequent approval of the explicit spending of the funds for that event. So I just want to have someone on the board who's more experienced kind of talk to the process so we're all clear.
Greg?
Yeah, I'm kind of merging it all into one request, because we can approve the project, but when I'm asking for items like what are you going to buy, what are you going to use it for, that's the budget that we're asking for. So that's the dollar amount. And so I guess that's the answer to that part of the question. And so for the do you want me to go on with that a little bit more, Paul? Because we just do it all at once. We look at the request, and then what I have done with the individuals, I've worked with them like offline to say, okay, we need to put this here and go get this, so that we can have a full package by the time we get to the governing board. Okay. And that would be the budget sheet and the planning and all that good stuff.
Okay, I'm comfortable with that. If I have any other questions, we can take it offline regarding the process.
Sure.
Okay, Laura?
Yeah, so it's been very difficult with the city clerk and with Dunn to get 100% straight answers on what we can or cannot fund while the emergency is still declared for COVID. So that is without regard to the fact that we're having this Delta variant surge. I mean, this is even in June when everything looked much more rosy. So So what I'm still hearing is no events, no events, no events. I'm not hearing no projects, no projects, no projects. So aligning with Greg, I mean, perhaps if this was, we would like to purchase 50 backpacks and or totes filled with supplies for school-age children to be distributed either right now or as the time goes on. And we also would like to acquire toys. They may be donated. We don't know yet. With an eye to a possible toy distribution in the future when it is allowed. I mean, in other words, this sort of language, but identifying prices. So on toys, I don't, again, know if you'd ever have to purchase them or just purchase the totes for them, if I'm saying that right, to give away, because that may well be donated. So I fear that if we do an event funding and our health status as a nation goes south, then that money just comes back to us because we won't be able to do the event. So that would be my concern. Obviously, we have enough time for, if you were thinking a holiday toy giveaway, we certainly have the 60 days at this point. So the normal requirement for event funding requests is it's a minimum of 60 days in advance, and there is enough time. I just worry about funding events.
Michelle, and then Greg.
Thank you. What about phrasing it, donating, I'm just throwing this number out, 50 notebooks, 50 folders to the neighborhood, whatever the neighborhood elementary school is. Therefore, it's not looked at as an event, but she's still helping the community. Right. Would that be a possibility?
Greg always does his little thumbs up. We're just waiting for the dog to arrive, just so you know.
Okay, and Sandra, I understand where Greg is coming from. We just need to have an accounting of the money that we distribute to the community. I mean, it's not okay to just give an organization some money. We need to know, what did you do with that money?
Or what am I going to do, right?
Or what you're going to do with that money, right? Because if there's ever an occasion where you wanted to come back for a future funding request, we would be in a negative vein because you didn't, not you personally, just in general, couldn't tell us what you did with the funds that we gave you in the beginning. So that's why Greg is kind of, we have a fiduciary responsibility for the money that we dispersed.
Okay. Okay, I get that. So then that means that I have an idea of the people and things that I would like to use. Basically, I want to zone in more on the holiday toy giveaway because that's our biggest annual event. Yeah. But then my question would be, I have no problem itemizing it and bringing it forth. But my question would then be, I don't have invoices for them now. You know, I know generally what they would want. So would I have to have the invoices by our committee meeting?
No.
Okay.
No, it's like window shopping and getting almost like a very loose price quote of the items. And it's not like you have to show us a certified price quote, but you do your due diligence in saying, I know, and again, I'll just use this example again. I know that I could purchase backpacks for $5.07, 76 cents. But so that's the items that we need to have. So that if you're looking at an event, a project for the holidays, then use this time to get what you want to do, and then what you want to give away, and then what you want to purchase, and then represent the package. I also need to say to the board, we have only allocated in the neighborhood purpose grants $3,000. We also have $6,000 in community improvement projects, which, so I guess that total in those areas, but we need to be mindful of that also.
Laura?
Yeah. No, I would just caution, again, and Sandra, you'll probably work direct with Greg and kind of craft this perfectly. So it's not just events. The other thing that's happened since the last time you were actually on the board is that anytime food's involved, we suddenly have to have the vendors have this, not workers' comp, liability insurance. They have to have this, they have to have that. So we try not to use the word food in anything that we're doing. So even when COVID's over, it's easier for us to fund a project than an event. Not impossible for us to do an event, but that's changed since the last time you have done an event with UNNC. That's just as a caution.
Yeah, because I've never asked for money for food. It's always been for the entertainment part of it. I just want to make sure we're staying along the lines of.
Oh, I think, hold on, Laura. I think, did you not mention in your funding request a food giveaway or something?
Oh, the grab bags. Well, that was for an event that already passed. I just want to include it, but you're right.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I'll just say, I don't think there's a problem purchasing wrapped food at Spartan Final or someplace like that, and for whatever reason, and sticking it in a backpack. That's not what I mean. But if the caution is, even when we're allowed to do events again, meaning if we get a memo in 2 weeks says we're going to let you fund events, we still wouldn't. It's still very difficult for us to co-fund an event where then there's a food vendor giving away live food because of the new insurance requirements and licensing and health certificate requirements. So that's just a caution. I feel like for the duration of 2021, we can't fund events at all. But since Sandra, you've done so many other events in the past, that's all I'm cautioning.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Greg?
I would just, I would like to offer service in helping Sandra craft her request. And when I speak to her, we will talk about things such as, does she have other funding sources for her project? Narrow her funding request down to a specific time frame or a specific project that she wants to work on, and then develop her itemized list of what she wants to buy. And then if we have that, then I think we can move forward with it. But as it is right now, I wouldn't recommend that we move forward with it.
Okay.
At this point.
If there's no further comments or question, I would entertain a motion to move this funding request to the full board. Teresa?
I'll make a motion that we move forward with Ms. Pruitt's funding request with the condition that she will work with the treasurer to meet all of the requirements that is required, that are required. I don't know.
Perfect.
Oh, okay. Are you putting, Laura, are you putting this in the chat?
I can, and I will. So,
and I want to.
So I'm going to say contingent upon applicant working with treasurer to meet all the requirements. Teresa moves. Okay, Teresa, is that right? Other than the misspelling? The plural?
Yes. Yes. That's correct.
So sorry.
I don't know if my concern should be part of this motion or a modification after we click on this one.
It's not yet been seconded.
Okay, so on the motion, I also would, this is for the board to be mindful of, since we only have $3,000 in that, on that category, I would say this initial project, we would limit it to $500.
How much?
So you're
500.
saying it, so you're saying in the total MPG budget is $3,000?
That's correct, ma'am.
And so her request is for 2,500, so that would
That's
only
correct.
leave us $500?
Yes, so I'm proposing that this
Oh.
request, we only approve it up to $500 because it'd be for one project. And as she's sharing, it's one project for the winter, for the
Okay.
Christmas holiday.
I have a question.
Sandra?
I have a question. So in
Yes.
the total of MPGs, how many what was the total before mine? Because we've done a lot of projects this year. There were a
We
lot of
haven't done-
non-projects.
We haven't done any this year.
So the total amount was 3,000?
Yeah, in our budget, Sandra, our total at the moment is 3,000, and that is reflecting that our budget itself was slashed by the city all the way down to 32,000. So we've got some contingency funds sitting around that may or may not be spent on other items, but for the moment we have to hold on to them. And so Greg is worried, I guess. I can't speak for Greg. Greg can explain what he's worried about.
Yes, you can. I can explain my concern. My concern is that if we only have a set amount in a category, we should not deplete those funds one project. We should ration it out so that we could support additional projects throughout the year. And not that we can't move money around, which we will, but the board needs to hold a conversation of what our focus is for the use of our funds. And it's not just a matter of who gets to us first. It's not like, when we're kids, I'm sorry for being so long, but when we're kids, there was 7 of us. Whoever got to the table first got the biggest piece of cake. No, it's not like that. You slice it up, and mom makes sure that everyone gets the same size piece of cake, unless you want to the kids.
So hold on, Sandra. So Greg, we have a couple of projects that are pending and the money may be withdrawn. So if those projects do not come to fruition, can money be moved into the NPG and Sandra could come back and request additional funds if we limit this project to 500?
Of course.
Right.
As we do encourage all of our partners to come back on a quarterly basis or scheduled basis to fund their projects. So yes.
Sandra,
Okay.
And then Laura.
Okay,
I'm gonna lower my hand.
I don't know. I'm sorry, I have to keep raising my hand because I don't see the hand thing. I'm doing something.
It's reaction.
They moved it to a reaction.
Okay, thank you. So you take 60 days to make this happen. Really, my focus was on basically for the toy drive in December.
Okay.
But then I was advised to do things a little worded differently, and so I came up with this one. But to do the toy drive in December, our next meeting is going to be, and we have to have 60 days out, right?
We have to do
Correct.
it.
And the next meeting is going to be,
Correct.
will I have enough time? My question is overall to come back, because I know for a fact it's pretty much going to be about 2,500 to pull it off, because I've done it in the past with the entertainment involved. No food, but just entertainment, and people may be going up on their entertainment, face painting, and tables, not tables and chairs, face painting, and the buying of the gifts, and also the other things that we do for kids. I was a preschool teacher, so I know what kids like. I know how to entertain kids really well and to bring our families together. So if I ask for just 500 now, and then we find some more money later, will there be enough time? The insurance is going to cost me a great deal too. So
Laura and then Greg.
Right. So I really hear what Sandra's saying, and also I'd be concerned that the board wouldn't want to see the same person coming back twice or multiple times. So I hear Greg's broad concern, and I share it, about taking all, I can't do math, 5/6 of our currently budgeted MPG. So I don't know, is there a smaller amount that would make Greg happy, but a larger amount than 500? Because I understand Sandra's point. If in the end, if the clerk says, but this sounds like an event, even though we're calling it a project, we do need that 60 days. So that's why I was one to encourage Sandra to come early. So yeah. So I mean, I think we're caught between a bit of a rock and a hard place. And the technical issue on agendizing it for governing board is we can always, as a board, vote for less, but we cannot increase the dollar amount that if $500 appears on the agenda for the governing board, that's the maximum we can give her. If we here move it forward with a higher amount, the board could still reduce it, but it can't make it bigger. And so we're spending an awful lot of time on this.
Greg and then Teresa.
I kind of lost my train of thought.
Well, let me just jump to Greg.
One thought was our practice. So I thought our practice was that we wanted to stress that we didn't want UNNC to be the only funding source for any project, so that we're partners with our community. So Sandra, we will look for you to have other partners for this project. And also, I guess my other point is that, yes, people can always come back, request funding. And yes, I will always state it from the standpoint of that's a large chunk of our budget, and not be in favor of using a large portion of our budget on a line for one or two items.
Okay, Teresa, and then we're gonna cut it off here because we got to make a decision on how we want this motion to go forward.
Well, I was going to suggest, can we make it $1,000? That would still leave $2,000 if someone else by chance comes forward, requesting funds. And that at least puts some money in. And if necessary, she won't have to come back, 4 more times to try to get more money. But I throw that out there as an option.
Sandra?
Oh, that would be fine. I also want to say that, was there any money that was left over from last year? Did we deplete all the MPG money from last year?
That's not appropriate for, well, I don't know if it's appropriate for me. Yeah. You can wait for the briefing later on in the briefing part.
Oh yeah, that's your part. My bad.
Yeah.
Okay, Laura,
I'm retyping.
Oh, I'm sorry. Paul, and then we're gonna do the motion. Paul?
I wanted to make a motion for a modification to the agenda item to change the $2,500 amount to $1,000, and then approve as presented with the changes in the chat that Laura wrote up.
Can we get a second?
I second that motion. Okay. You want me to do the roll call, Dolores?
Okay, I haven't even typed the whole thing, but that's...
Let her change the motion, please.
Sorry about this, you guys. I keep typing and erasing. Okay, let's see if this is it. Perhaps spelled better than before.
The funding request from Sons.
In chat.
Does that sound right?
Yes. You want me to read it?
We don't have to vote on the first motion because we didn't get a second, right?
Correct. No,
Okay.
there's never a second.
All right, go ahead, Teresa.
Okay, the motion is a funding request from Sons Matter forward to the board in the amount of $1,000 with provision that the applicant will work with the treasurer to meet all requirements. Dolores?
Yes.
Dolores is a yes. Paul?
Yes.
Paul is a yes. Laura?
Yes.
Laura is a yes. Teresa? Teresa is a yes. And Greg?
No.
Greg is a no. The motion passes 4-1.
Okay, thank you all very much. See you.
Thank you, Sandra.
Oh, Greg, I'll be in touch with you, okay? Thank you.
Okay, can we talk tomorrow or what day is good for you?
I'll let you know.
Okay, my friend.
Okay, bye.
Bye, Sandra.
Bye.
Okay, next on the agenda is 3B, Executive Officers' Duties and Tasks. Discussion regarding the duties and tasks assigned to UNNC officers. Discussion 15 minutes.
Right. Well, that 15 minutes was long before we were at 10 of 8 to start, just by the way. By the way.
How it goes.
So I just tossed this onto the agenda because last year, really for the last 15 months, Greg and I were doing the majority of all of the officer work, and we sort of self-assigned and divvied things up. And I was thinking that we have a really great team of 5 officers who we should divvy things up more evenly. And Dolores, I don't know if you had a chance, among other things, to speak with Greg about anything?
Yes, and he dumped it right in my lap.
Like a hot potato. You should have seen him move.
Okay, then. So starting with that, because we were walking on hot coals to make sure we didn't take things away from people that they wanted to keep. Anyway, so Dolores, you're going to be doing the sort of follow up with what board member requirements. In other words, attendance, training, our at-large board members participating in a committee, or area reps doing what the bylaws say, checking in with, their own neighborhoods, and that's going to be harder to follow up on. I don't know how you do that. And attending those committee meetings that have stuff in their area, but you're going to do all of that, right? However you envision doing it, but that you're going to do, correct? Right. And run executive committee.
Right.
And we experimented, Paul is the signatory, Teresa is the secretary, and I think Teresa did a great job experimentally, but it was great, at the board meeting, calling the roll on every single BAC. So, and Greg, you were just shadowing, but not Greg, Paul, you were just shadowing, but eventually that's the signatory's job to keep the BACs. In the end, what Teresa did was she also kept the BACs, I kept the BACs, Greg kept the BACs, but Teresa was the quickest on the draw and sent them out. So, but I think the way that this division of duties should be is that Teresa and Paul coordinate and then send, the BACs out, and we just make sure that the motions are accurate in the top part. So Teresa's keeping the role. Is that acceptable? Get the BACs off of, again, my lap and Greg's. Let me ask Paul first, and then.
I would just say, Teresa, you and I'm happy to coordinate with you, and we can decide each other's schedule maybe prior to meetings, who's better fit for that meeting to do it, if that sounds okay.
It sounds fine to me. Last time when I was trying to coordinate things with Greg, he suggested that I do the regular BACs and that he would handle the funding. But if, Paul is now the signatory, so Paul and I can decide if he wants to handle the funding, or I'll just do all, the roll call for all the BACs, but he can still, sign them and then email them out or whatever. I don't know,
Yeah,
Paul, go ahead.
Well,
it's
that's
not
what-
even, I'm sorry, I'm going to jump in. It's not even a matter of who's signing them, it's who's coordinating. I mean, the first step is to have them complete, have all the votes on them, that the two of you agree that what you wrote, Teresa, is the same thing that Paul wrote down for the vote counts and the absence and absent from the room. Either where we get tricked up usually is if somebody had walked out for the vote, but they come back in. So in other words, usually the people who are really absent, you've got that marked down in advance, but the ones who are absent for the vote. So that's the coordination before then the BAC goes out for signature. And Paul is one of the two signers. I'm the third in line for signing. Greg is second, I'm third.
Okay, go ahead, Paul.
So just for a point of clarification for me, as a signatory, am I, per the bylaws, technically only responsible for the BACs related to financing, or all of them?
All of them.
Okay.
Well, only because it's not per the bylaws. It's that Dunn has expanded the requirement that BACs be for every motion and not just for funding motions. Okay. So
Paul,
now that they're every motion except the approval of the agenda.
Okay, so Paul, what I can do is I will keep the roll for all the motions. I will take them directly from the chat, put that language into the body of the BAC, and then I will get them by 12 o'clock the following morning. If that's, okay. I can try to do them all that night, but if we run till 11 o'clock at night, I'd rather, by 12 o'clock the next day, I can have them all to you, and then you can move forward from there.
Okay.
And vice versa, because Paul, you should be shadowing and keeping the same record.
At the same time, I'll be also completing out the BAC just to make sure we're in sync.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay.
And we didn't let Greg speak.
Ready to be recognized. So to my colleagues, I just want to express my concern, and there's something that I am kind of reluctantly releasing, and anything related to the money part and the BACs. I have full confidence in your abilities, but that's my fingers are going like this on that one. You understand that those BACs for the treasury stuff, funding stuff, in the past, I had to wait for people to do stuff. So this is a new day.
It is a new day. Have you met Teresa?
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Teresa's really great.
New day. But I want you to know my hands are like this, But, okay. Enough said.
I have my hand up in the air. Dolores, I'm just going to jump in. Greg, both you and I, for sure, I know us. We're going to be also shadowing. We're going to be writing it down. We're going to, because that's, we're both perfectionists. I'm really interested in some of the land use ones. You're going to be interested in the thing. But I would like to let our board members whose job titles say call the roll or do the BAC do their jobs, if that's okay with you. Even though you and I both, we're going to be doing it anyway. I know that.
Okay. I have a question regarding executive committee duties. I wanted to know, is there still a laptop for the secretary? And does she have access to that to do the minutes and what have you?
Yes.
That's a Greg question, but how old is that laptop?
I don't know. One that's sitting beside me is kind of fancy and new. So she can have that one. There's a treasurer's laptop, and there's a secretary's laptop. I think the treasurer's laptop is newer, and the secretary one's quite functional too. So I'll show her both, and she can take a pick.
Dolores, is it important that the secretary use a different computer than her own to take minutes?
I'm just well, when I was secretary, I had access to the computer. Right. I don't know what happened after I left the board. So I think
used it.
I think it's important that the secretary has her own laptop as opposed to using her own personal stuff for a UNNC business, and the same for Greg.
Yeah.
And what about the president and the vice president, Dolores?
All I do is keep attendance. I mean, I don't keep reports and stuff. Well, I will from now on, but I can put all my stuff on a thumb drive. You don't have to buy a computer for me.
Right. We don't have the money to purchase any more computers at the moment, actually.
Teresa?
Yes, thank you, Dolores. I have a question regarding the Google Drive, the Google shared drive. I think someone was going to set up one for the secretary, so all the secretary's documents will go in that drive. Is that still going to happen? Because if that's the case,
yes.
Okay.
If it's not set up yet, I'll find out why not.
It's set up.
It's set up. I mean, for Teresa, no, does Teresa have access?
Nope.
So it's not set up.
Can we give her access?
Yes, we can.
Because
not just Teresa, Dolores and Paul as well. Officers should have access. So I'll check back and see how we do that.
And then
So
Dolores, if
your hand
that's
is
the case.
Greg.
Okay.
Greg.
So if I may, Madam President, I think you should stay away from that because that's not your cup of tea. So I think the Google Drive stuff. So what I think we should do in one of our meetings, executive meeting, is like do a tour of the Google Drive so everyone will know where everything is at. Even if we don't use it, we can know where it's at, because when we do the BAC, we're supposed to put them there. When we do the budget reports, we're supposed to put them there. And that way it's shared by all of us. So I will propose that I will set it up for Paul, for everyone to have access to what's there and set up new folders for the year. And then I'll propose that for our next executive board, that we do a tour of it. And then following that, in the governing board, then we do a tour for the rest of the board members. So I got it.
Okay,
I'll work that.
I'm not happy with that. I'm sorry, Greg.
We're
all pretty, sorry.
Teresa?
Okay, thank you, Dolores. I have documents now that could go into that file, and I can certainly use the secretary's computer. I have no problem with that. But if I use my own computer and I put all the documents I create, BACs and like the communication that I made today, that would also go into that file too. And then it's accessible to everybody. I mean, all the executive board members. And the idea that we're going to have to wait.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I'll set it up and then you can have access to it tomorrow, and Paul can have access to it tomorrow. But just to be clear, we should talk about it in our next meeting.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, so no, it's not like you have to wait to use it, but you can have access to it tomorrow, because it doesn't take that long.
And Dolores, would you still want me to use the secretary's laptop at that point?
Well, it's up to the group. I was just concerned about not having all of our documents on UNNC equipment as opposed to personal computers. Because suppose, God forbid, you decided that you didn't want to be on the board anymore because you got mad at somebody and you took all our information with you.
Okay, well, first of all, I'm maintaining a book of minutes that do not belong to me. They belong to UNCC. And that's why I've had some issues with not having minutes for the past year. But all of these things don't belong to me. They belong to you guys. So if by chance that happened, I'd be like, here's the book of minutes for the past 2 meetings that I've, prepared minutes, and here you go. I would not keep that. But
not you personally, Teresa. I'm just speaking in general.
Okay.
So it's up to the board whether you use the UNNC computer or your own personal stuff. I'm just concerned with everybody having UNNC business stored on their personal devices. That's just my main concern. And the other thing I wanted to bring
Wait,
up.
I'm sorry. Can I have my hand up?
Go ahead.
I'm
Laura.
sorry. The two computers, so I just looked it up on the inventory. One is from 2015 and one is from 2016. So while they may still be working, I don't necessarily think we need to insist that people use them because their software is probably really out of date. So, Asai, when he was secretary, really needed to use it because he didn't have a computer, and that could happen again. But I don't think we should make here. I mean, the one that would be for Teresa to use, is from October 2015. So I just don't know that that's efficient.
Well, as long as everyone uploads the records, the documents to the Google Drive or wherever it's supposed to be, and post the minutes and the agendas on our website like that's supposed to be. So if everybody is in agreement that you can continue to use your own stuff, fine, as long as our records are made public like they're supposed to be and uploaded to wherever they're supposed to go. The third thing I wanted to ask was, I mentioned to Teresa, she wanted to get some signatures, like that letter for me and John Arnold to go to the planning department because Laura had recused herself.
Do I need to walk away now?
No. It's about her having the access to a DocuSign due to COVID and no contact signatures. So if she needs a signature for something, she can use the online DocuSign as opposed to me sending it to me. I have to print it, sign it, scan it back, and send it back to her. Whereas it's more efficient if she had access to the DocuSign.
So DocuSign, if I'm not mistaken, because I actually just did a bookkeeping thing today for work, is $240 a year, which is not.
I think Greg has another option, a software option, right, Greg?
Well, yes, it depends. I need to find out what people have.
Yeah, the option he has may not work for signing letters. I'm not sure.
Well, let me finish, please. Let me finish.
Go ahead,
it depends on what software people have on their computer and what version of Adobe they have. And then if they have that, then I can work with people to do that rather than spending the money for each of us to have that on our computers. So, but that's like an individual consultation with people.
Okay, because I do have Adobe Photoshop, right. So yes. Maybe we could work something out.
Yes, yeah. Okay, Madam President, I'm done.
All right.
So it's workable. It's something that we can work through, on the cheap.
Anything else on executive officer duties? No.
Well, I've just lost track.
Teresa?
I just, since you just mentioned maintaining documents on personal computers, I just want to state for the record that the secretary did provide the 5 terabyte hard drive to the president, who is going to move all of the past Zoom meetings.
Has done.
Thank you.
Did do.
Yes. So that will be also with the book of minutes. So when I hand that off next year, I will be like, here you go. And also, if we decide at some point to upload those Zoom meetings to some format, they're in a safe place to be able to do that.
Oh, speaking of on that, we had that conversation, Laura, with regards to the past 2020 minutes and some previous minutes that are not up on the website.
Yeah.
What did we decide to do about that?
Well, we do have that as an agenda item later on in this agenda. What to do about previous minutes.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So do we need to make a motion or anything with item B? No? Okay.
No.
Okay. And when if anybody thinks of other things that each of us could do, we'll just talk about it in the future. I honestly think we're really great, all of us, and we'll be able to efficiently have divided up this task and and have a great year.
Okay, Greg, you got your hand up?
I want to reimburse Madam Secretary for the gigabyte thing that she purchased. So I would like to receive her receipts for that so we can reimburse her for that in the future.
Would that not come under treasurer's report?
That would come under treasurer's report.
It would, ma'am. It would.
I will submit submit the proper paperwork.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, item C, board member trainings and attendance reports.
Yeah.
Discussion. I don't have the past reports since I just got this job. So
do you want me to do the training reports?
Yes.
Okay. All right, let me switch screens again. Second report. Training. Okay, training report. Okay, and then my apologies when I talk to myself when I'm switching stuff around. That irritating, but it helps me.
As long as you get good answers.
Okay, there you go. All right, so this is our training report as of today. There are some concerns. Well, first of all, can everyone see this? And this is large enough for everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, so my color code, which can change, the blue is things that's a concern for the city, but John has completed his code of conduct. This report, this one is sorted in alphabetical order. If it's in red, this person they went past their expiration date, so this is due. So that's I want to talk about proposed concern that I have about the training requirements. Isaac, all of his training is past due. So I have reached out to him, but no response. So this may be an issue that we need to take action on. Taylor has 2 train. If yellow, these are the new people that just joined the board and they need to complete their training. So he has started, so he just needs to be encouraged to complete his training. Carlos, this is a concern because that's been ongoing. Hugh, he has completed training, but there's a debate on the done accepting his state training. Lizzie has completed his training, but they deleted it from the system, just like with John. And the other people, the new people that need to complete their training. So that's the data. Is there any question on the data? We need to, yes, I'm sorry, yes.
So have you, the people that are in red, have you contacted them to remind them that they are past due?
I have contacted them in the past. I have not contacted them this week. But I will contact them again before our next meeting to say.
And their response has been?
Let me go down the line. Oh yeah, I thought it was good, but now that I know I'm on it, 1, no response. 2, been aware of the training. Another one, been aware of the training for over a year. Maybe I shouldn't say a year, but for many, many months. And the people in yellow have been working on their items. So, but it's an ongoing conversation. Like, how can I help you? What do you need?
For the ones that are in dispute with Dunn, is there a way we can facilitate to help them out?
What we have done in 2 cases, Dunn has requested that they just take the training again. And then I said that, yeah, I'll mention that, but they just need to add the data back into the system because they deleted it from the system. And then on another case, it's something that's been elevated to the president to argue or to advocate. Yeah, that's a better word, to advocate for the individual with Dunn because Dunn is not budging on their requirement that the training be conducted in their system, vice the state system.
So Laura,
Yes.
if you're advocating, is it, do we need to go above Dunn and go to the Empower LA Commission on this?
We might have to. So what's happening is, I'll be specific. Hugh Moore, accidentally, he's a human being. He did all 3 of his trainings, but he just logged into the state system instead of the city system and took his ethics the old way and sent us the certificates. He's really, he spent more than 2 hours on it. And from my perspective, it's the same, it's the same. It's, ethics is ethics, and he spent the time. What's happened is that not only did the Dunn staff say, no, he should take it again, but they were rude to him. Apparently sent him kind of a rude email. And then when he responded to that, the person didn't respond to him at all. And so he's very angry. So I don't know if I can fix it on the Hughes side. But what I've talked to Gibson about is, look, this board member is a really good board member. He comes to all the meetings. He's an essential worker. He's an emergency room nurse in the middle of a COVID pandemic, and he did this in the middle of a surge. Can't you cut him a break? Well, this is for, it's not so convenient for us, said Gibson. And it's like, well, I'm not sure, I don't quite know what to say, because I could say my snarky journalist thing, but that's probably not going to move us forward with them. But the truth is, their charter role, Department of Neighborhood Empowerment's role in the city charter, is to support the neighborhood councils and its members, not to create systems that are convenient for it and then boot people out because of their convenience. So I'm trying to figure out how to move forward and how to ensure that Hugh doesn't resign, because that's where he's at right now. Is like, I don't work for them. Don't they understand it? That's where he's at. We have a little time only because there's no way we could even replace him until the first interview that could be had for replacing him would be September 21st at our next executive. I mean, we have a little time. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to rescue this from either direction, meaning help Hugh feel less angry and help Dunn understand why in a worldwide pandemic we could perhaps be a little more flexible.
Who are you dealing with besides Gibson?
No one yet. And that's, I want to escalate it. I was considering, I went to the Bonk meeting yesterday, meeting virtually. I was considering bringing this up, and then I thought, no, this is a little premature. So I might want to write a letter to our Board of Neighborhood Commissioners representative. She's working closely with Mark Ridley Thomas right now on some other matters related to neighborhood councils. So that might be the better approach.
You talking about Joy?
I am.
Yeah.
I am. And she's our rep. So, yeah, but I feel like I decided not to air it in public, even though that was one of the reasons I logged into the meeting, because I thought, I don't want to go too far and ruin the ability to negotiate our way out of this. So, yeah, it's not a good situation. And then, Greg, I think you explained, but the reason 2 of our board members are now showing us not taking the code of conduct is simply because, we switched everybody now to Cornerstone, and we didn't, they took it the other way, and we didn't want to switch them. And it's like, what?
Yeah, it's
like ridiculous.
Yeah, it's for their convenience. Just type the date into the database. It's not that hard.
I think it should be taken to the executive director, and if we get no result, then we go to the commissioners.
All right.
Okay.
Teresa?
Thank you, Dolores. Craig, you mentioned that they had already, Hugh in particular, has already emailed to you a copy of his certificate?
Yes.
Why can't, I mean, while this other stuff is playing out and, between the other executives or whomever, why can't we just allow him to vote? He's already shown he's taken it. We have the certificates. And actually, I think that's because Dunn seems to be delayed and posting updated training. I really think that's what everyone should do. As soon as you take the training, you get your certificate, boom, send it to, in this case, Dolores and the president or whoever is in charge of training. And that way, go ahead.
Okay. No, you weren't finished. Go ahead.
No, that way there's you are up to date immediately instead of waiting for the delayed
Right.
process from Dunn.
Yes. What we do is when someone shows their certificate or they say they completed training, well, we will say to them, "Your send certificate," and then yes, we do allow them to vote. But in Hugh's case, it's not a matter of him not being in good standing with us. It's a matter of Dunn saying he's not, or Dunn saying that he did not meet the requirement for the training. And Dunn is not kicking him out, but Dunn is saying that his training doesn't count. So therefore he wants to resign. So we do that. We do allow people to vote when they show us their certificate. But this is a little different issue.
Dunn is going to kick him out. What Gibson also said is, because on our bylaws we have 4 months.
Which I want to talk about.
But Gibson is saying, no, we would say 60 days and he's gone. So for Hugh, it would be September 19th or whatever the date is you saw on that thing. So, which again coincides with September 21 when we be maybe interviewing a replacement. But it's like, wow. I just don't even understand how people look in the mirror in the morning before they go to work.
Well, I think a letter needs to be done now then.
All right.
Okay. Madam Vice President, may I continue with other things related to training?
Yes.
Okay. The other thing that I wanted to share with you, and we can get into this in that handbook or the bylaws, is that so this is our training requirement that we've been sending out to everyone. And this is taken from our training people, and they reviewed this and they're okay with what we have here. But this section down here is the proposed change that I would like for executive committee to consider and then take it to the board for our change in our training requirements, where we would say they have 60 days from the date of receiving their initial credential to complete all training requirements. And it's just shortening the time frame because we were giving people like up to 4 months and 6 months to complete the training. And with this, we would say, 2 months should be enough for people to complete the training once they have a valid credential. Okay, and then this last section, section 5, we need to decide all UNC members have served on the board longer than 1 year who have not completed, well, I need to reword that, but we need to decide if they haven't completed their training and their training has expired, like those people that are in red, if they will count towards quorum or not. So that's a question that we have. So anyway, that's been floating around a while, but I don't know what format or forum we want to review this and discuss this, because it is presented as a proposal for changing into our training requirements. How shall we proceed? Shall I stop sharing?
Yeah.
Yes, I'll stop sharing.
Paul?
I'm sorry, point of fact, I may have misunderstood, but what Greg was sharing, that's what the city is proposing, or that's what we're proposing to modify our bylaws?
Okay, so this statement it's more aligned with what the city requires, because we, as UNNC, were more generous in allowing people to complete their training. We allow like 4 months or 6 months for them to complete all of their training. And really, if they don't, some of the training, they can't even, well, they can't even vote on funding issues if they haven't completed all of their training. So they're really an ineffective board member as far as voting